Errol Spence says that in his prime, he would beat Mayweather. Well, that's an interesting statement to make. Spence is only 30 years old. So when he says in my prime, he's almost talking in the past tense, it seems. Is that suggestive of Spence believing that the best of him is in the past and the injuries that he sustained in the crash will mean that the old Errol Spence is never going to return? Maybe he was just misusing the term in my prime. Maybe he just meant when I'm in shape, when I'm at my best. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. But saying that if he was 100% focused and at his best, he could beat Mayweather, I like that from Errol Spence. As I said very early on in Spence's career, his attitude was different than most other fighters. He didn't look at Floyd Mayweather like a fan, because that's how so many professionals did look at Floyd. Even the contenders in the welterweight division, many of them said, "Oh, I'm such a fan of Floyd." Are you crazy? This is a guy you're supposed to be not, fanboying for. You're supposed to be challenging this guy. And instead you're talking about him like you're some fanboy? No. Errol Spence, as a young, and in most cases for people who are young pros, impressionable kid, Errol Spence didn't have the attitude of a usual, typical young, impressionable professional boxer going into the Mayweather gym, being starstruck by Floyd, wanting to be just like him. Can I get your autograph, Floyd? No. He went in there with the attitude like, I'm going to prove myself. I don't give a damn about your reputation. I'm the star on the top like Christmas decorations. And me murking you right now, that's my estimate. Sorry, I turned into Kano for a second. Shout out to Kano. That's the attitude he went into the Mayweather gym with. Didn't give a damn about his reputation, who he is, what he's done, how much money he's made. He got in the ring with Floyd. And he gave him the business, by all accounts, okay? And therefore, he still has that attitude now. At my best, I beat Floyd. He says he couldn't break Floyd down mentally because he said Floyd is very, very tough mentally. But physically, he would break him down, hit him to the body and all that kind of stuff. Now, am I someone who believes that Errol Spence would beat Floyd Mayweather? If I had to bet, if I had to put my last dollar on it, I would say no. But I wouldn't completely rule it out at all, because really and truly, Floyd Mayweather never beat anybody like Errol Spence at welterweight. A southpaw that size with that ability, that kind of strength, mental and physical strength. He fought Zab Judah, of course, who's faster and more slick than Errol Spence, and he had a few issues early on. But Zab Judah doesn't have the mental toughness that Errol Spence has. He's not as big, he's not as strong, doesn't have as good a chin, etc. And Errol Spence can box, even though he might not be as explosive and fast as Zab Judah, he can box. We saw that in the Mikey Garcia fight. So, yeah, it was kind of funny. Whenever you would watch Floyd Mayweather fight, the opponents would fall under the Mayweather spell. You know what I'm talking about. It's like the first couple rounds, they might give it a go and it'd look somewhat competitive. But after that, Mayweather would get into this groove and the opponent would just be stuck like a hamster going round and round in a wheel. And they just could not penetrate this Mayweather defense. They just could not get anything going, and they could not get Mayweather out of his groove. Now, one of the fighters towards the very end of Mayweather's career who did have some success in unsettling Mayweather's groove was Marcos Maidana, particularly in the first fight, but even in the second fight to some extent. He unsettled Mayweather's groove and he managed to get to him to a bit. Obviously, this is Floyd in his late 30s. So which Mayweather are we talking about? Are we talking about Errol Spence versus a prime Mayweather, or Errol Spence versus the Mayweather who fought Maidana? Because if you're talking about the version of Mayweather who fought Maidana, I think Errol Spence got a very good chance of beating that guy. Now, he can do what Maidana can do, but he's a southpaw, more skilled, faster, technically better than Maidana. And the first Maidana fight was relatively close. I thought Floyd won both fights, don't get it twisted, but it was relatively close. So I like the attitude from Errol Spence. This is why I started really following his career, was because of the fact that he wasn't one of these starstruck Mayweather fanboys as a young pro, but instead he was looking to try and take out the king and become the king himself. I like the attitude from him. So it seems as though Errol Spence has had some time to reflect over the past few weeks, and he realizes the error of his ways, and I'll do a separate video about that. But for this particular video, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who would win between Errol Spence and Floyd Mayweather? Let's say Spence in his prime versus Mayweather at the latter stages of his career, or prime for prime. Who wins? And some people would say that Mayweather's prime was probably at 140 rather than 147, even though he didn't stay at 140 for long. Some people might argue, no, his prime actually was 147. But either way, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who would win in that matchup? It's happening. I'm out.